Penguin Random House Audio presents Worthy Fights, a memoir of leadership in war and peace. Written and read by Leon Panetta. To my wife Sylvia, my boys Chris, Carmelo, and Jimmy, and to the memory of my parents, Carmelo and Carmelina, their love, support, and sacrifice gave me the opportunity to live the American dream of a better life. Prologue. I said goodbye to a fallen CIA colleague, a personable, driven young woman named Elizabeth Hanson, on a warm May morning in Washington in 2010. She was laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery in the shade of a stately line of willow oaks, amid thousands of American heroes and in the company of hundreds of friends, family, and co-workers from the Central Intelligence Agency. I was at the time the director of the CIA. Elizabeth Hanson had worked for me. It was a graveside service, modest and brief. She was buried in Area 60, beside many veterans of the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, just over a small rise from the Pentagon. Hanson and 6 other members of our agency were killed on December 30th, 2009, at a remote CIA base in eastern Afghanistan. Liz Hanson and her colleagues were there that day to meet a potential agent, a jihadist who said he wanted to work for the CIA and steer us to the leadership of al-Qaeda. Instead, when he arrived at the meeting, he detonated a diabolically powerful suicide vest, killing 7 of our best and injuring a dozen more. That explosion was a signal tragedy for the CIA, one of the largest losses of life in the agency's history. The attack shook the CIA, and I had spent much of that winter and spring consoling our employees and traveling around America to share the grief of the families of those men and women. Hanson's funeral was the last of 7 such services I had attended. They included small private services and a large Catholic Mass. Some were packed with dignitaries, others limited to friends and family. I met with mourners in Fredericksburg, Maryland, Virginia Beach, Clinton, Massachusetts, Akron, Ohio, and Central Illinois. And this was my 3rd trip to Arlington. After the funeral mass in Clinton, boys and girls stood in the snow outside the church, some quietly waving flags or signs that read, "Thanks for keeping us safe." In Akron, the widow of one of our fallen, Scott Roberson, was carrying his child, a girl. One eulogist imagined the day when their daughter would come to visit the CIA and touch the star etched in the marble of our memorial wall, marking her father's sacrifice, her heart full of pride for a man she never had the luck to know. 2 realizations connected all of those ceremonies. Nothing could return those young men and women to their families, and I could only offer them a promise. America would do everything in its power to bring those behind the murders to justice. They hit us, America would hit back. By 2010, nearly a decade after the events of September 11th, 2001, the sustained response by America and its allies had significantly degraded al-Qaeda, but it remained a fighting force, still under the spell of Osama Bin Laden and directed by him and his close lieutenants. Now, with the burial of Elizabeth Hanson still fresh on my mind, American analysts reported that they had found one of those deputies, in fact, one of those directly responsible for the attack at Host. He was down for the night, deep in a terrorist compound. That was a significant piece of news. There was, however, a catch. He was not alone. Al-Qaeda leaders knew that American policy was to avoid civilian casualties wherever possible, and they had adapted their habits to that realization. By 2010,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?